Om. So in this video, I'm going to continue talking about numerology because numerology is life. If you understand numerology, it's really a code to understanding everything. So in Chaldean numerology, which is primarily the numerology that I study, although I'm also open to Pythagorean, they consider compound numbers, which is the big difference. One of the big differences between Chaldean and Pythagorean. Pythagorean reduces everything except for master numbers, which 11, 22, 33, 44, etc. In Chaldean, they consider both the digits, the compound digits, and the digit sum. And these compound digits are embedded with meaning. It's time, space, and the observer. Time being the Shakti, or the power of the number, which is the outer digit. The space, the Shiva, which is the inner digit. The digit sum represents both the effect, imbalance effect when the number is out of balance, the balanced effect when the number is in balance. It also represents how the relationship is balanced. So for example, digit sum ones can show as analysis. If you want to look at your birthday or your month or whatever when you're creating compound numbers, just to give you some food for thought, number 1 as a SnapAnalysis is showing in balance the effect of clarity, direction, purpose, assertion, leadership is there. That's how the relationship is balanced. For example, with the number, let's say 28. 8 wants to be very, very careful because 8's the are you sure, that doubt energy, because 8's role is to build integrity. Piece by piece, slowly but surely, without skipping anything. Wants to make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted, therefore it's very careful. And 2 is also very sensitive. It wants to act, but then wants to make sure that everybody else is factored into that, because 2 is very sensitive to the environment. It senses the needs of everybody. So it may hesitate to act because maybe people don't want to hear that, or maybe it thinks this or that. So 2 will shy away from doing it. The solution to balance this relationship is initiate, take action, assert yourself, be assertive. Okay, digit sum 2 is when cooperation or teamwork is required, empathy, where sensing the needs of the environment and incorporating. Empathy means incorporating the external world and how you do it, because the 2's role, if you look at the sequence, 1's the initiation, this fixedness. 2 takes that, receives it as intuition, or it receives it through the womb, impregnation. And 2 is always is in touch with the needs of the environment, which includes the people, the space, the culture, like this. And 2 knows how to take an idea, which is 1, and adapt that idea, which still is the idea, but then adapt it so it fits in this particular culture. It connects with this person. So they're a facilitator, they're a bridge. So this is where the relationship is calling for cooperation, teamwork, and being sensitive to the outside world, such as number 11. 11 is 2 ones, 2 assertive, 2 egos. The solution to make this number in balance is through cooperation, facilitation, teamwork. It is by incorporating the needs of the environment to convey your knowingness of the 1. 3 is showing where you are raw creative expression, creative release is required. For example, let's take the number 48, just popped in my head. 48 creates a 12/3. Let's just take the 3 to be simple. 4 and 8, I already talked about 8. 8's that are you sure, the doubt energy. It can feel like, I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Let me just make sure. 4 is also considered a number that's a stop and pause. It wants to structure everything. It wants to categorize and rationalize everything before it takes action. It wants to have, its security comes from structure. So it doesn't really understand something. It doesn't want to necessarily express itself, because 3 comes after 4. 3 is raw expression. 3 is preceded by the idea and the emotion, and then release. It doesn't try to like, how can I organize this first? No, 3 is just like a download, boom, express. So the solution between 4 and 8 is to express yourself. Go for the expression. You need some sort of creative release to get that energy moving, otherwise it can be too stagnant. Now we talked about 4. The digit sum of 4 is where structure is required. Something that you need to create some sort of structure, because the way that 4 works, it uses structure to create efficiency so that it can optimize and innovate. To get from A to Z, which is Z being is innovation, 4 uses structure. That's what gets the juices flowing. So for example, let's take a number, 22 pops in my mind. 22 is 2 2s, very emotional, very sensitive and aware of the outer environment and the needs of what's needed to be done. And it can get all these intuition. It needs to take its emotion and it's what it's receiving from the environment and its intuition as a result of that, and make something out of it. Get practical, develop some habits, some routines, put pen to paper, build some sort of system, build something that you can build on top of, like a foundation, something where it's routine, structured logic. Okay, that's 4. That's the balance for that relationship. Whenever you see 4 as a digit sum. 5 is essentially freedom, being comfortable, being dynamic, changeable, adaptable. So when in a relationship between the two numbers that add to a 5, you can see that these two numbers maybe have an issue when they come together. There may be some sort of fear of change. It also shows where freedom is required. So let's take the numbers. 4 and 1. I was going to say 23. We've already done 2. We've already talked about 3. We've also talked about 4 and 1. So 23 is popped in my head first. So let's go with 23. 3 wants this raw expression. They want to just download, go. But the 2 on the outside, again, is this kind of is very sensitive to what the people might think of me if I say that. So I want to make sure that I'm not speaking in, and 2s can be a little bit timid. They can be second guessing in imbalance, of course. So the solution here is freedom, change. Don't be afraid to be unstable. Don't be afraid to be dynamic, where you're just in a flow and you're not really too sensitive. You're not leaning into too emotion. You're just changeable. This will allow the 2 to loosen up, so it just allows it to express itself in still an empathetic way, but not being too timid about it. Just being fluid and dynamic. Okay, number 6 is where it's showing the relationship is balanced by responsibility and service. So let's say, for example, you have the number 15. 15 as an interdigit here means there's a deep a push, a pressure for this constant stimulation. 5 is the curious explorer, the adventurer, because the role of 5 is to create alchemy. It's to connect a bunch of individual groups or individuals to exchange and share ideas so I can create harmony, which is the 6. But 5 in this case is using the power of the 1. So that 1 is the outer digit. So every time 5 gets some little hair, like, oh, butterfly thought, initiate, takes action on it. Oh, let's do this, initiate, take action on it. So 5 is just wants to try everything. They want to explore everything. This can include drugs. It can be all kinds of vices. So it's showing you that in this relationship, where every curiosity can be initiated, let me assert myself and go after and get that done. The 6 is saying, hey, be responsible, be grounded, because it can be very, very chaotic. Okay, so let's move on to number 7. 7s are showing usually relationships, not usually, they're showing a relationship when a 7 is a digit sum, where you have 2 completely different personalities. So for example, the 3 and the 4. The 4 wants structure, the 3 wants raw expression. It doesn't want structure. Structure disrupts the flow of the 3. And the raw expression, without first organizing it, rationalizing it, makes the 4 very, very uncomfortable. So it's showing that the solution here is 7. 7 is to step back and get a transcendent perspective, which means you're more in a witness state. You're just being present. And so this is where the 7 comes in, like the 1 and the 6. 6 is all about selflessness and community. 1 is about individuality. 6 doesn't like 1 because 6 doesn't want individuals. It wants to bring things together and create harmony. It wants to be selfless. 1 is the opposite. 1 is very much asserting of themselves. They're designed to assert themselves, to initiate a new creation. So when these 2 come together, 7 is required. It has to be step back and you have to let go. You have to not be in the ego, but not be too selfless. It's just to observe. You're kind of in both. You're without being in either, so to speak. So the general code for 7 is meditation is really good, because meditation helps to build networks where you can stay in a more of a witness observation state, where observation is required to understand, to really go deeper to understand something. So building networks like this. Also, 7 can also do very, very well by themselves. They're really meant to be in an isolated place. Not all the time isolated, but they need that time to recharge and to get their bearings. Number 8. 8 showing where you need strength and perseverance, because 8 is the energy that, are you sure energy? It will test you. So it'll test you. How bad do you really want it? Are you really to continue to pursue it, even if it doesn't go right the first time? So 8 creates things that stand the test of time, because 8 creates things that are bulletproof. They're in such integrity or truth that they stand the test of time, because truth is the only fixed principle in existence. The only thing that doesn't change is truth. Everything else will always self-correct and self-destruct. Thus, 8 creates things that are so bulletproof they stand the test of time, because they're based on universal principles. So let's take the number. Number here. Let's say 35. 5 again is this energy of, it wants to change. It wants to exchange information. It wants to stimulate the intellect. It wants to not go too deep. It wants to stay more surface level and superficial, because 5 is about freedom. It doesn't want to get pulled. Doesn't want to get weighed down. That's another thing about 5, because part of 5's role is to jump around. And if it puts down roots here, then it can't do that. So it doesn't want to put down roots. It wants to stay more superficial and surface level. 3 is raw expression. And 3s are also someone who is about achievement. They want to achieve it. They want to touch it. That's how they value it. And they want to pursue things. They're very much outward focused. The will and desire to achieve and to express and creativity. 8 is here to say that this relationship can be very, very powerful, because 8 is also a number of power. But it's going to require perseverance. The 5 and the 3 have to be willing to stick it through. They have to be willing to take it to the end. Where 5 can get impatient, they can just jump around. Where they're more of the, in the fight or flight, they're more of the I'll just go do something else. I'll just change. I'll just move on to the next thing. That's how they're built. 3 is very, very like childlike energy. So another thing about 3 is they're very childlike. That's why they're kind of jovial and lighthearted, and they're humorous, and they kind of age very well. So when you have this childlike energy and this changing energy, these two energies need to be brought together with strength, perseverance, responsibility, because 8's also very, very much a responsible number, and a maturity. They need to have a maturity. 8's also the master of the ego as well. So it can see all the angles, and it has the correct judgment discrimination based on establishing itself in truth. Okay, and when you see 9, and let me back up to really quick with 3, the digit sum of 3, because it ties in what I'm about to say about the 9. 3 has this unique success code where 3 can just start talking and will calibrate itself and get itself into a creative flow state just by talking. So when you see the relationship, another success code for 3 is just start talking, just start writing, just start typing, but really particularly through voice. Like if you have a voice app on your phone, just start speaking. If you have an idea and you don't really quite know how it's going to play out, rather than try to like organize it first, just get yourself on an audio and record your voice so you can transcribe later using Microsoft Word or any other transcriber, and just start talking through it. 3s are really good with that, and they will calibrate themselves in doing that. If they have someone who they can bounce ideas off of, that's also very, very great. Someone who's willing to listen, like a 2 person, for example, will be really, really good for a 3. Okay, and then number 9. So number 9 is action, where the number needs to take action. 9 is the number of action, the active force. So just like 3 can speak, 9s, just by taking action, will figure it out. So 9s aren't designed to like sit around and think about it. 9s are designed to follow their instincts and just go. Instinctual number. Instincts, like the reptilian part of the brain, follow your instincts and just go. And just by doing something, anything, you will figure it out as you go along. So 9 is showing a relationship where action is required. So for example, 4 and the 5. Let's say 45. 5 on the inner digit again is this change, dynamicism, adaptability, jumping around, exchanging ideas. It wants to be free, very free like this. But the 4 is kind of gating that in an imbalance, where the 4 takes more control when Shakti doesn't want to bow to the Shiva, and because whenever the outer digit doesn't bow to the inner number, it can create this chaos, and it makes an imbalance. So it will create the imbalance effect of the numbers. So for example, 9. And the imbalance of 9 of the 4 takes over would be too critical, too harsh, It will create a lot of conflicts and this attitude, like I have to like challenge. Everyone's challenging me. I have to overcome everything. Everything becomes like this war. That's an imbalance effect of 9. Where it's showing here is this 4 is gating the 5, where the 5 kind of wants to jump around, but the 4 is like, no, we need to structure it. And the 9 is saying, hey, forget that, just take action. You'll figure out the structure as you go along. So that's giving you some ideas. So I hope this video helps. This is longer than I expected, but there's a lot of value packed into this video, giving you some general ideas. So when you see these digit sum as like your birthday, for example, take your day vibration. If it's more than 9, even if it's 1 through 9, it still is a digit sum of 9. So even 1 through 9, instead of having like number 14 is 1, 4, the 1's the outer digit, 4 is inner. Single digit numbers, the outer digit is 0. So they're written as 0, 9 or 0, 8. So it still creates a digit sum of whatever I said. So if you have your birthday that adds up to a 5, you kind of have an idea here. If it adds up to a 4, it's giving you a little bit of a success code on what to do. There are other ways of using this, which I may start sharing more about this, but all that to say as well, I have recently, I'm making readings available. I have all kinds of different readings that I'm doing. I've mapped the hero's journey, the actual hero's journey, which they use in Hollywood, which is based on an archetypal story, which is based on the soul's journey, into numerology. Which starts phase 1 is the development and conditioning, how you were born into this world, and what are all the different effects, and basically you're finding out what are the wounds that you built and your compensations on, deep down. Phase 2 is about teaching you the balance and how to balance these different success codes mentally, emotionally, and like this. And phase 3 is about how to integrate that back into your conscious personality. I also have a reading around life path, deep life path analysis. Life path is your karma, the culmination, the destination where you're supposed to be going. So if you follow your life path right, you'll be able to get the best karma. And if you're leaving things in imbalance, you're going to manifest the more negative or imbalance aspect of that life path. So it gives you a deep analysis using the 9 diamond system, which is a Chaldean thing, for those who know. If not, I can talk more about that. I have that. I also have how the hour and the minute of your birth actually make let's say you're born on the 9th. That's not just going to be a normal 9, because the hour and the minute you were born. If you just don't know the minute, you can also just use the hour. We'll make that a certain type of number 9. So I have a report on that as well, and I'm also developing a report on your core emotional wounds. I have several reports. If you're interested for more, just let me know. But if you're interested in any of those, leave a comment, reach out, and I will get you my contact information. We can go from there. I'm also working on a website, so that's coming soon. Hope this video helps. God bless. Wishing you the best.